up your YouTube, search for Stukeley Meadows, watch on your big screen. Get yourself comfy, this could take a while, what a happy scene. Something new every day for your long-term memory. This is so exciting, it is nearly time for a Stukeley assembly. Good morning everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday reading assembly. For each other we, everyday we, to improve we, together we will. Every single Stukeley day we focus on. Our Stukeley motto is, our Stukeley curriculum is. 4 words that make the magic happen. Yes, I'm very excited today because we're going to finish A Christmas Carol. Just like last week, I'm going to fire through the author bit because there's quite a bit to go. So first of all, who wrote A Christmas Carol? You all know the answer. Charles Dickens. Author bit done. Right, let's get stuck in. Now remember, last week, and I think 2 weeks before that, we've been working on this book, Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. We met Scrooge at the very beginning. We also met Bob Cratchit, who worked for Scrooge. Scrooge, miserable man, a miser, which meant he kept his money, didn't give it away, didn't celebrate Christmas, didn't celebrate anything. Clearly he had a tough life. Was it tough all the time though, or had it just become tough? Anyway, he met Jacob Marley's ghost at the beginning of the story, and that really frightened him, it confused him. Then he met the ghost of Christmas past. And this was a ghost, a spirit that told Scrooge all about the happy times that he'd had, and when they started to become sad. Then last week we met the ghost of Christmas present. And this ghost showed Scrooge what Christmas was like that year, what was going to happen in all the other houses. And at that point we met Bob Cratchit's family, and we met this little guy, Tiny Tim. And I think Scrooge felt a little bit sad for him. Anyway, I'm just going to flick through the pages that we went, because we started in Scrooge's office. We saw Bob Cratchit getting chilly. Scrooge was really mean. He left his office. He went home, started to see strange things, realised he'd seen Jacob Marley's ghost, tried to hide from it, couldn't. Then he woke up in the night and he saw the ghost of Christmas past. It really, really frightened him, took him back to see his kind of lonely life. Sadness when, people left him and he lost people. Happiness that he had and then didn't have. And then that spirit disappeared. Scrooge broke down in tears. Then he met the ghost of Christmas present, who took him to see happiness, even where Scrooge thought there wasn't any. He took him to Bob Cratchit's house, and that's where we bumped into Tiny Tim. In the other room, now down from Bob's shoulders, Tiny Tim helped his father prepare the table. Tiny Tim was a pale, frail little boy with the face of an angel. Scrooge noticed that he walked with the aid of a crutch under his arm, and that his weak legs were supported by iron frames. Tiny Tim offered his father whatever help he could give, but then had to sit wearily on the chair. The children all ran in ahead of Mrs. Cratchit, who was nervously carrying the goose. Now remember, Scrooge isn't actually there. He isn't a real person there. He's just seeing it. They can't see him, but he can see them. As Bob carved, everybody expressed amazement at the tenderness of the meat. Nobody said how small it was for such a large family. "We're all so fortunate to have each other," said Tiny Tim. "I hope that we can remember children that are less fortunate than us." Scrooge could not believe it. Were there people even less fortunate than them? Tiny Tim looked down at his thin, weak legs. "Oh, I hope as well," he said to Bob, "that I can be stronger in spirit than I am in body. I want to do some good in this world." As dinner was served, Tiny Tim sang a prayer of thanks. Fighting back a tear in his eye, Bob held Tim's withered little hand in his own. "Merry Christmas to all of us," said Bob. "Merry Christmas," said the family. Scrooge looked at Tiny Tim. "Tell me, Spirit, tell me, will Tiny Tim live?" The Spirit did not answer. "I think there will be an empty seat at the table next year. If this situation does not change, Tiny Tim will die," answered the Spirit sadly. "Only if the family's fortunes change will he be saved." Scrooge started to feel a tear in his eye, and he quickly wiped it away. Scrooge then suddenly thought about this. Who had the power to change the family's future? Who could save this child? The Spirit got a little bit cross with Scrooge. "You have sometimes said that a poor person's death is one less person to feed. Have you said that, Scrooge?" Scrooge lowered his head in shame. "I have said that," said Scrooge. The Spirit pointed back to the dinner table, where the joyful atmosphere had suddenly disappeared. "Why should we drink a toast to that mean man, Scrooge?" said one of Bob Cratchit's children. "Because it's Christmas," said Bob, "and even though Mr. Scrooge is like that, he is alone, and I want us to remember him." Scrooge could not believe that they were thinking happily about him after the way that he treated Bob Cratchit and his family. They raised their glasses to Mr. Scrooge, and then the room started laughing again. Scrooge stepped back out into the bustling streets. Then he noticed that the Spirit had grown much older, and his hands had thin wrists and long spindly arms. "Who are all these children around us?" said Scrooge. "These are children that we have created. They are poor, and they are now miserable, and they have made society angry." When the Spirit and Scrooge got back to his house, the children faded away and the Spirit disappeared, and Scrooge tried to get back to sleep with poverty, angels, devils, and images of Tiny Tim swirling in his head. He drifted off to sleep. The next time Scrooge woke up, the clock was striking 12 times. This time he was expecting another ghost. And then he saw a draped, hooded figure drifting towards him. Are you the ghost of the Spirit? Are you the Spirit of Christmas yet to come? You could call it the future. Are you the Spirit of Christmas yet to come? The Spirit did not speak. It was covered entirely in black, with only one skeletal arm exposed. Scrooge was filled with horror and dread. Although he had met other ghosts that night, Scrooge was really frightened of this one and did not know what to do or say. "Show me what you need to. I know it's going to be dreadful," said Scrooge. The arm of the Spirit pointed to a door. Scrooge went through that door, and there he was back in Bob Cratchit's living room. It was a sad room. "I miss Tiny Tim. I miss him going on my shoulders," said Mrs. Cratchit. "Well, Tim was very light and easy to carry," said one of her children. The family was silent, waiting, each of them sorrowful and forlorn. Tiny Tim's little crutch rested against the wall. Mrs. Cratchit wiped a tear from her cheek, and Scrooge also wiped one from his. "Father!" shouted one of the children as Bob came in the door. "Where have you been?" I promised that I would go to Tiny Tim's grave every Sunday, said Bob Cratchit. And I have just been there, my dear child. The rest of Bob's children all ran towards him. One of them took his scarf off, one of them brought him a warm drink, and the other two took him to his chair. They climbed onto his knees and they wrapped their arms around him and covered his face with kisses. "We will never forget Tiny Tim," they said to him. "We will never forget his beauty and his mildness and his kindness." "Oh, I do miss Tim," said Bob Cratchit. And there he is with his family. They've just, obviously this is in the future and Tiny Tim has died sadly, and Scrooge and the Spirit are watching them. "Please, please take me away from this," begged Scrooge. Tears were now streaming down his cheeks. The Spirit turned and pointed down a street. Scrooge recognised it. Two smartly dressed gentlemen were talking as they walked along. "I know those two," said Scrooge. "I know those two men. I often do business with them. They hold me in high regard. They believe me to be a very powerful man." The Spirit told Scrooge to stop and listen. Well, said the taller man. I'm glad that Scrooge is dead. I never liked him anyway. I'm sure that many people will be glad to be rid of him. He always kept their money and expected it to be paid back." The other man echoed those thoughts and said the same kind of things. "He was so cruel to his servants. I really hope they're happier now. They've taken everything from his house now that he's gone." "Oh, how terrible," said the other man. "That's not all. They took the clothes from his body as it lay there. They wanted everything back from Scrooge when he died." The two men described how Scrooge had died on his own. The only company he had were the rats from the street. "Well, this world's a happier place without him." "Yeah, I agree," said his friend. Scrooge was then taken into the graveyard by the Spirit, and there he saw his gravestone. Ebenezer Scrooge. Scrooge trembled. His legs began to give way. "Please say that nobody will be like this when I actually die," said Scrooge. "Please tell me that some people will be sad for me." The Spirit shook his head and then disappeared into the night. Scrooge woke up the next morning and he felt like a new man. He was alive! He'd had some terrible, terrible dreams and nightmares, but he felt alive. He threw off his blankets, he opened the curtains, he was still in his pyjamas, but he didn't mind looking out onto the street in front of him. He suddenly felt happy. He suddenly felt cheerful. "I don't know what to do," he shouted, laughing and crying. For somebody who'd never practiced doing this, he needed to jump out of bed more often. He picked himself up off the floor, ran round his room. "I'm as light as a feather, I'm as wobbly as a jelly, I'm as silly as a sausage, and I'm as happy as a lark." Scrooge's dreams had shown him how he should be living his life. "It's Christmas Day! Hooray!" he said. He dressed quickly and pattered downstairs, even forgetting his shoes. "Merry Christmas!" he shouted to his neighbours as he threw open the door. "What a wonderful day! Here, little boy, come here," he said. And the little boy, who had previously been scared of Scrooge, walked up to him. "Take this money, my friend. Go and buy the biggest turkey you can and take it straight to Bob Cratchit's house. Oh, and keep the change." Still in his socks, Scrooge walked around the streets telling people, "Merry Christmas! God bless you all!" Scrooge decided that he would go to his nephew's house for Christmas dinner. This would be the first year he went to surprise them. First, though, he must visit a special family. He arrived at the door and walked in. There they were, sat around an enormous turkey. Bob and his family looked very confused. When Scrooge looked through the window at them, Tiny Tim was nowhere to be seen. When Scrooge eventually walked round the front room to see what was going on, there he saw Tiny Tim, peeking his head above a turkey. Scrooge thought that he died, but he hadn't. "Tim, my precious boy, you're still here," he said, happy tears streaming down his face. Scrooge stepped towards Tiny Tim. Tim stepped back in terror because he knew what Scrooge had been like. Bob had no idea what his boss was doing and sat there frozen to the spot. He thought of grabbing something to hit Scrooge with in case this was a terrible trick. Surely Scrooge had gone mad. "Bob Cratchit, I want to give you more money. I want to give you twice, no, 3 times the money I pay you already. I want to give you money for your family and to help Tiny Tim. Bob, I want you to be happy in a way that I have never been happy." An hour later, Tiny Tim had finally worked out that the old Scrooge was no more. He walked up and sat on his knee. Scrooge joined the family for Christmas dinner, and then at his nephew's house, because he almost forgot through his time with the Cratchits. He kissed every one of the Cratchits on the cheek and bounced out of the door before going to his nephew's house. As he left, he called back into the house, "Merry Christmas! God bless you all!" "God bless every one of us," replied Tiny Tim. Now, I'm so sorry, I had to rush that at the end because I can see the time ticking. A wonderful story of a miserable, miserly man who was visited by ghosts and spirits. They showed him what life was like before, what it was like now, and what it was going to be like in the future. It's a bit like when I say your birthdays. I hope you had a great time, you're having a great time now, and you're going to have a great time. Strange but true. Scrooge realised he wasn't a good person, and he learned from being told that, and now he's changed his life. A great Dickens story. From that, straight into Coops and the Gang. We're Coops and the Gang, come on! Come on! Hang on, Mrs. Cooper, hang on. We're so pleased to be back. We're just too keen, aren't we? Another Christmas tune here, one of the old ones, one of the favourites, Mrs. Cooper.
Take it away, Mrs. Nightingale.
Yes. You better not shout, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. He's making a list, he's checking it twice, he's trying to find out who's naughty or nice. Santa Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows when you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Come on! You better not shout, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. I'll tell you what, love this. We're Coops and the Gang, come on! Come on! Always brilliant to hear Coops and the Gang. Another couple coming up before we break for Christmas. No birthdays today, but there are a couple of shout outs. First of all, Mrs. Hunt wanted to give a Stukeley shout out to Alicia and Leon in year 2 for being fantastic in her reading session yesterday. And also, I need to give a massive shout out to Year 5. The first ever year group where both classes have had every child in with their learning log and every sentence written in. Check this out. Exactly. Times Tables Rock Stars was not great this week, but that is superb. Well done, Year 5. Okay, it's time for the festive bit. I wish I'd done this every time. Hey everyone, let's start off with Advent Chimney. Santa may not be dropping today, but still exciting. 16th. There we go. It's getting very full up behind the chimney. Have we seen the Advent window yet? Okay. Messages. To Miss Smart, Mr. Singletary and the whole of my class, have a Merry Christmas. I hope you get what you want and I hope Santa leaves a basket of chocolate. I used gel pens and it got a bit smudged. At least you're honest. From Rhea in Year 2. Well done, Rhea. There we go. Lovely job. Dear Mr. Singletary, I hope you have a nice Christmas from Jaime in Year 1. Thanks, Jaime. Good job. Dear the teachers and the whole school, thank you for looking after me. And that's from Lewis in Year 2. Dear Olivia, E and Kaya. And for George in Year 6. Have a great Christmas. Love from Sophie in Year 3. P.S. Hello, Mr. Singletary. Have a Merry Christmas. Love that one. To the whole of Year 4, including the teachers, have a wonderful Christmas. I hope your Christmas is wonderful and happy. That's from Mickey in Year 4. Thanks, Mickey. Merry Christmas to all my friends at Stukeley Meadows from Evan in Year 1. Thanks, Evan. Great job. To the school. Merry Christmas. I hope you have a lovely Christmas and a Happy New Year from Anne-Marie in Year 3. Love that little Santa there. This one is to Mr. Singletary and the school from Zara. I think it's Zara, which one? I think it's Zara T or W. I'm so sorry, one of the Zaras in Year 1. Oh, sorry. Merry Christmas. Oh, this is nice. To our lovely head teacher, Mr. Singletary, and all of the teachers and students in the school from Sarayu in Year 1. And then we've got, this is lovely, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all the students and staff of school, especially our leader, Mr. Singletary, teachers, Mrs. Stevens, Mrs. Corley, Mrs. French, Miss Nisbet, and all my friends in Cherry class. Enjoy your holidays and stay safe. That's from Elizabeth in Year 1, and it is beautiful Stukeley script writing, so beautiful. And to finish, we've got a cracker from Dominic in Year 1. It says Merry Christmas to Year 1 Magnolia and Cherry classes and teachers, and there we've got it from Dominic, which is a really lovely treat. Thanks everyone. Most important 60 seconds.
The most important 60 seconds are coming up now. The most important 60 seconds are coming up now.
Gonna keep it even shorter than 60 seconds. Check this out. They are the last few secret shop gifts. If you want a completely secret, a completely mystery gift that's worth about £5, you only need to send in £3 in an envelope with your name on, and you'll get one of those to take home for Christmas.